I'm James Helder. Welcome to Full Court Football 24. Quite privileged to be joined by former Dunfermline, Poyncock Athletic, Meadowbank Thistle, Stonehouse Moor, Whitburn, Wollongong Wolves, Kuotang Golden, South China, Instant Dick, Kalamata, Dunfermline Athletic, Sheffield Wednesday and Falkirk Starlee, Bullen. Hope I pronounced some of them names rightly.
Probably not, no. Some of the pronunciations are very, very difficult, especially the teams in Hong Kong. Okay. But you did okay. You did okay.
I've got to say, looking from the outside in, you've had a well-travelled career, played in 4 different countries, had experiences as a player and a pro that many people wouldn't have had. Can we start off at the start of this journey today? So your sort of upbringing and your growing up.
So I was born just beside Edinburgh, a place called Pennycook. Mum was a stay-at-home mum. Dad worked in a local Edinburgh crystal factory. So working class background, got 2 younger brothers, local schools, everything like that. Started on my football journey at about 8 years old, local boys clubs. My dad was one of the initial coaches, as a lot of kids find at times. And I was actually coached by an Everton legend at the time, a lad called Alex Young, who played in the FA Cup final in 1966, 1967, I think it might have been actually. So my dad and him were friends, and my early footballing education was really, really good because of that background with Alex. From there, just progressed through age groups and everything, but my first dabble with any sort of professional side of things was signing schoolboy forms with Dunfermline Athletic when I was about 15, 16 years old. It was good times. My local teams, born in Edinburgh, were Hibs and Hearts. I never seemed to be good enough to get the trials with Hibs or Hearts at the time. A lot of my friends did. But I joined a smaller club in Dunfermline for 3 or 4 years as a kid, and was lucky enough to play a part as of a Scottish Youth Cup winning squad. Got on in the semi-final, never got on in the final. Was in the squad, but was involved in it. But there was a little bit of success with Dunfermline at 17, 18 years old. But then unfortunately got released and dropped back into the sort of amateur ranks at that time.
How hard was it? As you said, you're used to that academy life, playing for Dunfermline Athletic, growing as a footballer, to then have that disappointment, to have that setback at such an early age.
You know what? It's never nice. It's never nice. But I think that experience has put me in good stead now with regards to when I got involved in the coaching side of things. We're missing a bit out here, but short story of it is I came back to Wednesday after travelling the world, and I was involved in the youth setup, and I think my experiences at that level and being released and everything was good. I could give advice to youngsters that are going through the hard times. The lucky ones that got their professional contract and the kids that got released. It's never easy, but I'm hoping that my basic story was something that would allow them to not give up, give it a second go if at first you don't succeed type of scenario. So yeah, it wasn't easy, it's tough. You drop back down into sort of the amateur ranks and boys club level type of thing, but you still have the dream that you might get another opportunity. And I eventually got that when I was about 19 years old. I dropped back into junior football in Scotland's like non-league football in England. And I played with my local junior team here, did really, really well, was playing as a striker, scoring goals for fun. And Meadowbank Thistle, who are now Livingston in Scotland, they took a chance on me. I signed with Meadowbank for 2 years. Did okay initially, but then got released. Signed for Stonehouse Moor, record signing, £7,000.
Wow.
And after 2 years, got released. So again, it was high, low, high, low, high, low type of thing initially in my footballing career. After the Stonehouse Moor one, I went back again, junior football, non-league football, but I got a bit disillusioned. I thought I'd missed the boat in Scotland with regards to professional football. So I decided to start on a bit of a footballing odyssey and headed off to Australia for a year.
At this point, are you sort of contemplating your own future within the game? Because having so many setbacks at such an early age, and I'm guessing you're having to work as well, part-time or full-time, and train around those commitments. How did you handle that? And mentally, how did you sort of deal with that?
You know, looking back on it now, it's probably the best thing that happened to me. Listen, I never had a career where I made the millions and I'm able to go and sit in a golf course for the rest of my life. I've never done that, but the experiences I have had due to the travel that I've had and playing in different countries has been second to none. And if anybody had the opportunity to go and work or travel or play football or box, or again, whether you're in banking or whatever, to live in a different country, I would encourage them all day long. Best thing I ever done. I worked part-time, like you were saying. I played part-time and I worked full-time at the Alliance of Leicester Building Society when I was a kid, when I first left school. So you're working 9 to 5, you're going training at night, you're playing on a Saturday. That is proper full-time football, rather than going in, training 3 hours a day and then heading home, or heading to meet the missus, or go for a coffee or a lunch or a golf course or something like that. It was real. It was a tougher life, but it made me appreciate it more when I eventually did get my break. Higher up the tier. So
when you moved to Australia initially, did you go there with a sort of determination to succeed, where you saw it as potentially maybe your last chance within the game, or how was your mentality at that point?
I'll give you the story how we got to Australia. A good friend of mine who was also playing junior football with me, his dad was a professional player, and one of the players that his dad played with had moved to Australia, was now coaching a team in the second tier in Australia, just below the National League. And my friend Billy turned to me, he says, listen, you've had a few ups and downs in the game. Do you fancy getting a year's visa, going to Australia, having a trial at this lad's team, and ultimately, hopefully we can get a contract there. If not, we'll spend a year travelling around Australia. And I was, like I said to you before, I sort of thought my time had sort of passed. I was 19, 20 years old. And by then, if you drop out of professional football, it's quite tough to get yourself back in there.
Yeah.
So I thought, listen, it's an adventure. If we can pick up a game of football on the way, that'd be brilliant. 2 of us going. I'm not going alone. Actually, my mum, her brother and sister had emigrated to Australia when they were younger. So I had family over there. And I thought, why not? Let's take the chance. Got the visa. 2 weeks before we're due to go, my mate turned round to me and said, I'm not able to go. So I was in a dilemma. Do I go? Do I not go? I didn't know what to do. And I thought, you know what? I didn't want to turn around at 60 years old, look back on my life and think, I wish I'd taken the chance. Yeah. So I thought, I'll go. And ultimately, I had my return ticket. It was an open ticket. If I went there, I says, right, I'll give it 3 months, see how things go. And ultimately, I can be home in 24 hours. So I gave it a go. Best thing I've ever done. Went over there. There was a lad called Joe Watson, he's Scottish, but went to Australia when he was younger, played football there, eventually got his citizenship, actually played national team for Australia over there, Joe. Went over, had the trial, did quite well, played, it was halfway through their season, played half that season, and then did well enough to get an opportunity to go and try at Wollongong Wolves, who were in the National League in Australia at that time.
Would that
bizarre, strange, and a gamble, but great.
Would that have been your first experience of living abroad and away from home at that time as well?
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, you've had the lads' holidays abroad, and a few of my friends did summer seasons over in Ibiza or Mallorca or something like that, and things like that, but I never did that. I'd go and meet them, I'd go and do the usual things as a kid, as a teenager, that type of thing, but I've never actually lived abroad. So that was my first experience, and to be fair, when my mate pulled out, I was nervous, but I also knew that I was going to stay with my uncle initially over there, so I wasn't alone. He took me to my first trial at a team called Stanmore, and it was strange. Australia at that time were very much ethnic-based teams. They were like Greek teams, Italian teams, Croatian teams, local Australian teams, and they were run by the local sort of, working men's club. And I joined a Cypriot-based team, and bizarrely first turned up, first day of training, went in the changing room, sat down beside a boy, and spoke to me in the strongest Scottish accent you'll ever know. So there was one Scottish lad there, bizarrely enough, went all the way around the planet and met the Scottish lad there. And he sort of took me under his wing, showed me the ropes, got me around, did well enough in the trial that I signed that contract for half a season. And instantly with football, you instantly have 15, 20 mates.
Yeah.
Because that's what your squad is, and you start to get to know them. But we're travelling abroad, the biggest thing I've found is you have to make an effort with the local lads. It helps you out big time. If you keep yourself to yourself, very tough to break in and make a positive impression.
So how long was you with Wollongong Wolves for?
Right, so I joined Stanmore for half a season, and I had a work travel visa in Australia. To play in the Australian National League with Wollongong, you have to have an actual sports visa. I didn't have that at the time. But Wollongong had invited me down for a trial, and they said, listen, if you do well, we will sort out that sporting visa. And I was there for a couple of weeks, did well, played a couple of trial games, scored goals, was doing really well, and they kept saying, yeah, we're going to sort the paperwork, we're going to sort the paperwork, we're going to sort the paperwork. And I'm thinking, right, when's this going to happen? I was there for a month, still nothing. And out the blue, from absolutely nowhere, I got a phone call from an agent asking if I wanted to go play football in Hong Kong. And I says, well, I've got to be honest with you, I'm hoping to sign for Wollongong in the National League. There's been a bit of delay in paperwork and everything like that, but who is it? He says, well, the owner of Hong Kong Rangers is actually in Sydney at the moment. Do you want to go and meet him for a coffee? I thought, yeah, I'll go and meet him. Why not? I'm not losing anything by it. Still training at Wollongong. Went to meet the owner of Hong Kong Rangers, and he said, look, listen, at the time, Hong Kong was still a British colony. Anybody with a British passport, you don't need any work visas, so it's very easy for Brits or expats to move to Hong Kong and pick up work. So he wanted a British-based player, passport holder. So I spoke to the guy and explained my career and everything like that, and it'd been a bit up and down, and got on really well with him. And he says, right, we'll be in touch. A week later, he got back to me and actually said, listen, I'm not going to take the chance. We'd like somebody with a little bit more experience, blah, blah, blah. So I thought that had gone out the window. Next day, same agent phones me again. I've got a team called Khoi Tan that wants somebody. They'll take you, but they need you to fly out tomorrow. And I'm like, well, Wollongong, what's happening? I phoned Wollongong. I said, listen, this is the script. He says, hold it. We can sort out the paperwork now. And I was like, sounds a bit dodgy. How could you have not done that the last month or so? And I thought, you know what? Thanks, but no thanks. I'm going to go to Hong Kong and take another step on this journey, footballing odyssey. And they paid my flights over, signed for Khoi Tan for half a year, did really, really well, and then joined another club in Hong Kong. Ended up staying in Hong Kong for 4.5 years.
Wow. Talk to me about Hong Kong. Talk to me about
proper partner. Every night is a Saturday night in Hong Kong.
Really?
I swear to God. All it is basically, you've got mental Aussies travelling to Europe, fly to Hong Kong, stop over 2 or 3 nights, go ballistic, fly on to Europe, or you've got Europeans going to Australia, stopping off in Hong Kong, 2 or 3 nights, going on to Australia. And it was absolute carnage, mate. I swear to God. The amount of lads that I've met, expats that would come and play football, they'd just go nuts for a year. They'd play football because of the humidity in Hong Kong. We used to train at 4 o'clock in the evening, in the afternoon. So hopefully it had dispersed a little bit. So with that, majority of the lads that would come over they'd be out to 4 or 5 in the morning, wake up at 3 in the afternoon, go to training at 4, and then back on it again. It is the best city ever. I don't know if you've been, mate.
No, I haven't had the privilege.
You have the chance, go. I mean, it might have changed now that it's Chinese. It's been taken over by the Chinese since the handover in '99. But it was the best place ever. A lot of people always said to me, "What do you over there? Is it not a bit bizarre?" Everything like that. And yeah, the Chinese restaurants are slightly different from our Chinese restaurants, but there's all different. Like Harry Ramsden's is over there if you want your fish and chips. There's loads of Western restaurants, everything like that there. Nightlife is unbelievable. The city's so condensed that all you see on postcards is all the sky rises, but the other side of Hong Kong Island, it's like beaches, quiet, greenery everywhere, that type of thing. So from a life perspective, from my point of view, was brilliant. Seeing how other people live, and the haves and the have-nots. And during my 4 years there, played for 3 or 4 different teams there. Had experience on the footballing side of things. Played Man United at the end of the season. They came over for a a glamour game. Chelsea, played against England just before Euro '96 with Gaza, all that lot.
Yeah.
So that's a story in itself. Every Chinese New Year, around about February time, they'd have a league select, and they would play a 4-team tournament against national teams from all around the world. So I played against Sweden, I played against Yugoslavia, I played against South Korea, I played against Colombia. I'm just this wee guy from Pennycook outside Scotland that's been released 3 times in lower league football in Scotland. I'm now walking on the pitch with England and Colombia and Yugoslavia and things like that. It was, like I said to you before, the best decision I ever made was getting on that plane to go to Australia, even though my mate done it, because I took that step up, and the experiences and the people I met and the lads I got to play against. I signed for a team called Golden after my first year in Hong Kong, and Golden signed Mike Duxbury, ex-England and Man United fullback, international. We had a lad called Carlton Fairweather, ex-winger, Wimbledon, crazy gang. Foreign lads, we had a Yugoslavian lad, we had a big Dutch lad. Played against, again, I never actually played with world-class players, as you say it, in my overall career. I played with really good players, but players I've played against in my career was brilliant. Like Man United, like the Chelsea, with Ruud Gullit and Vialli and all that. I got Frank Leboeuf's shirt after the game. I got Tony Adams' shirt after the England game. I got things like that. I got man of the match in that game against England. Again, this wee guy, for Pennycook. What's happening with that?
When you played against England, like in that Euro '96 game when they were on tour and warming up, were they shocked to see a Scotsman in the side?
Yeah. I think, I don't know what they sort of expected. They had come over, I think they were away for a week or 2 weeks. They had played one game in China, came down to Hong Kong. They were obviously getting paid a lot of money to bring the team over.
Yeah.
I think Terry Venables had thought, get them away from Europe, get them away so there's not ridiculous amount of fans travelling, try and get a good team spirit amongst them. And like in that team that played against England, was myself up front. Mike Duxbury was in that team. Dave Watson came as a guest player for us, ex-Everton captain and things like that. We had another English lad called Ian Hesford in goals. Yugoslavian, a Dutch lad, 2 Yugoslavians and a Dutch lad played, and they had 3 Chinese lads in the team, roughly.
This was actually
against the team of Chinese lads, didn't it?
Yeah, this was actually the tour where the infamous dentist chair thing with Gascoigne and the England team come on. We had the privilege of having Ted Buxton on the channel, and he was Terry Venables' number 2.
Yeah,
all through that period. So having him on the channel and telling us about that stories and that time, it's great to hear the other side of it.
None of the staff came into the nightclub after the game, but what was Ted's take on it?
Ted just basically was. Ted was in control of chaperoning the players that night, and they had sweet talked him to speak to Terry to allow them to have the night out. Is my understanding, and the rest is sort of history. Yeah.
Well, what happened was after the match, there was a sort of gathering. We went to, there's a massive floating Chinese restaurant in a place called Aberdeen Harbour in Hong Kong, and there was a big dinner after the game for the full English team, all their travelling party, all our team, all our travelling party, all our misses, everything like that. We went for this thing, and then obviously Terry had given them the night off to go out, let their hair down a little bit.
That's right.
It was Gazza's birthday around about that time as well. Yeah. Make no mistake, the English press blew it completely out of proportion. They were pissed. They were having a good time. They got a bit rowdy and started ripping shirts off and that, things like that. But they weren't overly obnoxious. They weren't bothering people. They weren't causing fights. They were just sort of kept themselves to themselves over in the corner. The only one that I would say is that majority of them were there. And then later on in the evening, and they were pretty pissed, they were throwing drinks on each other, they were running up, ripping each other's T-shirts, things like that. But then later on in the evening, I think it was the sponsor of Umbro had come in with Tim Flowers and Alan Shearer late on, and they were sober. Well, they maybe had a couple of drinks, but they looked sober compared to the other gang over the corner with Dennis Wise, McManaman, Gaza, all that gang. Yeah. This was a nightclub that was basically in this tower block where you would never have known. You press a button to go up to the 7th floor, doors open and pumping music. Right,
Yeah.
that's what it was. And if you didn't know it was there, you would never have found it. Okay, it was actually based on a themed restaurant like TGI Fridays type of thing, American diner type of bar, right? So it wasn't a den of iniquity. It wasn't some dungeon bar somewhere or anything like that. It was actually quite a decent place. Anyway, Tim Flowers comes in, Shearer comes in, and this other lads that's with them. Now, all the England guys, it's a big square bar. All the English guys were over in the far corner, and Tim Flowers and Shearer saw them. He knocks them over the bar. Oh, hey lads. Started walking around the bar. And then as they're walking around the bar, I was the other side where Tim and that's come in. As they're walking around the bar, they're realising the state of them on the other side. And they're thinking, hang on a minute, I'm not sure about this. Just at that time, Gaza sees them, pours a pint on his head, runs round the corner and heads towards them. And he went to grab Tim Flowers' shirt. Tim's a big boy. He just grabbed Gaza's wrists, held him, stared at him and says, no, you're not doing that. And Gaza looked at him, big tongue out and ran away back over it. So he realised it wasn't the right thing. And Tim and Alan Shearer stayed out the road of it. Because they thought, you get involved in that, this could be absolute bedlam here. But it was fun and games. In this nightclub, we had this dentist chair. And basically what you do, you pay a £5, I think it was at the time. One of the barmen come out, you lie in this dentist chair, you lie back, open your mouth like you're in the dentist, and they've got a bottle of lime and a bottle of vodka. You just pour it in your mouth, they put a towel around you, pour it in your mouth until you basically start spilling out, and that's your shot. You down it, you get off it. That's it. That's all it was. But 3 or 4 of them get in this thing, and obviously people in the nightclub, a lot of expats, a lot of English girls, lads, whatever, they're taking photos of it, and they stitched the lads up, to be fair. Give us a photo, yeah, and then they sold it to the newspapers. So it was a bit wrong of people. But unfortunately, when you're that sort of high profile, you're obviously open to that kind of stuff that can happen, especially nowadays.
Big scandal at the time as well.
It was.
Big story, wasn't it?
Yeah. But they went on and had one of their best tournaments they've ever had and should have won it.
Indeed.
And by the way,
Gascoigne in particular.
Beating Scotland when Gascoigne scores that goal, flips it over.
Against Colin Emery.
Back of the net. So it was actually weird because 2 weeks before I'd been on the pitch with these guys and I actually had a ticket for Wembley and I was at Wembley for the game. So it was nice. It was weird but nice.
Yeah, I'll never forget that day. Yeah, it was very
what a goal it was, brilliant. And then it sort of shoved 2 fingers back up at the press, really, the media for stitching them up because the celebration just said it all, didn't it, for Gaza? Don't get me wrong, I was crying in my lager at the time when he scored it, but because we had a penalty just before that, I think, to get back in the game, and I think Seaman saved the penalty from Gary McAllister, I think it was. Yeah. Highs and lows of football, eh?
Indeed. So from Hong Kong, were you straight back to the UK then after that? How did that work?
Right, what happened was Doug Ellis, the ex-owner and chairman of Aston Villa Football Club, was part of the travelling party of the FA. After the game, I'd played really well, and Doug approached me and said, would you like to play football back in England? And I'm thinking, bloody hell, Aston Villa, again, not played anything. Brilliant, great. He says, I know the owners of Walsall, so I was high and then a bit deflated, but then I thought, you know what? I'd love to play back in England anyway, so I was quite happy that he says, I'll put a name, I'll put a word in for you and get yourself back there and have a look. And I thought, well, at the time I had just signed for the biggest club in Hong Kong, and I thought it wasn't really the right time. I just got married over there to an English girl, since separated. It just wasn't the right timing type of thing. If it had been Aston Villa, I would have maybe forced it through, but so it wasn't right. But 3 months into the next season, I joined the top team there, but I hadn't done really well, and out of the blue, an opportunity came to go and play in Greece.
Was that Kalamata?
Kalamata. The story again, the guy from Kalamata, probably one of the richest guys in Greece. He comes from Kalamata. He bought his own football. He bought the local football club. But what his business was diamond and emerald mines in Brazil.
Wow.
but his head office was in Hong Kong, and he owned his football club in Greece. Head office in Hong Kong because it was a cheaper tax haven, I think, maximum 50% tax or something like that. So he was based there, his head offices, but his main business was in Brazil, and he had his football club in Greece. He had come to the England game, he had watched the game, he approached 3 of us to go and play for his team, 1 Brazilian, 1 Portuguese lad and myself, to join his team in Greece. And at that time, it was great timing. We had Hong Kong had done its course for us. I'd been married for 6 months or so. We just needed a change of scenery. So we decided to take the chance with the 2 other lads that I'd known really well in Hong Kong. So again, being in the right place at the right time, getting the opportunity. Went to Kalamata, small team in Greece. Always battling relegation in the top league when I went. We were battling relegation, and I joined halfway through the season again. We survived relegation. The next season we got relegated, and then the next season after that we come straight back up again. So for me, the first time I was ever full-time professional was in Hong Kong. So I'd gone from Scotland, stepped down to part-time football in Australia, stepped up to full-time football in Hong Kong, and stepped up to the first division in the top league in Greece after that. So I was disillusioned with football, fed up, go travel, try and pick up football, step, and I was on my way back, really. So, again, best thing I ever done was get on that plane to Australia. So, Greece, it's amazing.
I've had some mixed opinions about Greek football. Some of the lads that have played there have witnessed corruption, have had some interesting run-ins with chairmans and chairmans. What was your whole experience with Greek football like on the whole?
Right, so my experience at Kalamata, this chairman paid us every month, on time, on the dot, no issues, small club, good facilities, great experience at playing at the top level. I also knew players over there that played with certain Greek teams that they'd get paid 1 month. Then the next month they'd be paid 2 weeks late. Yeah. Then they wouldn't get paid for a month. Then they would get 2 months up front. Then they would be, and they're eventually losing track of exactly how much they were owed. And sometimes they go 2 or 3 months without getting paid or half a wage. It did have a reputation for that. I think the top leagues, it was never proved, but I think the big teams seem to get a few decisions go their way, which you wouldn't expect. But again, no proof was ever done. Obviously, the current owner of Nottingham Forest owns Olympiacos in Greece as well. And again, a lot of people would accuse his club of getting help from referees and things like that. Again, nothing proved, but it was a place like Greece and Turkey have sort of had this reputation for it without any real proof. And I have had friends that have sort of not been paid for 2 or 3 months, which allows them to leave in a free, have to go to UEFA and FIFA, and about 3 years later eventually get the money they're due, which isn't ideal for any sort of player when you've got, I don't know, kids or family or anything like that. The last thing you need is not getting paid 1 week and then not getting paid for another month or something like that. It's not ideal. Not ideal. Great place to live. Learned the language, which was, again, another education for me from that side of things, which I would never have done. So I love going back to Greece for my holidays and topping up I say I learned the language. I would guess I'm about 75% there, but I'm quite happy with that.
You must have got excited then when Dunfermline Athletic have picked up the phone, and there's a chance for you to go back to where it all kind of started, and with a different reputation as a different guy, I guess, a different player. Again,
there was a bit of luck involved in that as well. So I'd signed for Kalamata halfway through a season. They offered me a 2-year contract, so my contract actually ran out halfway through a season, coming up to Christmas. And coming up to the end of my contract, the Christmas sort of time, they were very slow in approaching me, and the time started building up. Is like, you're going to offer me a new contract? You're not going to offer me a new contract? The players wanted me to stay. I got on with the players, but the chairman was... And I eventually made the decision, right, we're going to leave. Mrs. had done it 2 years at that time. We headed off back home. And I contacted Walsall 2 years later. And I went on trial at Walsall in the middle of December. And at the time, it wasn't a transfer window. I'd played a friendly game against can't remember if it was Luton or something like that. And I'd trained at Walsall. I'd done okay. They turned to me and says, listen, transfer window opens in January. Go back up to Scotland. Spend Christmas and New Year with your family. Come back down first week of January and we'll see how things are. I thought, yeah, fine, no problem. Move back up to Scotland. I had a place in Edinburgh. In the meantime, for the 2 weeks over Christmas and New Year, my agent had contacted Dunfermline and said, listen, lad, been here, there and everywhere. He's on trial at Walsall. Just wants to keep himself ticking over fitness-wise. Do you mind if he comes in and train with you? And at the time, Dunfermline had just taken on a Scottish coach who had spent all his career coaching playing virtually in Holland. He had just got the job at Dunfermline. He didn't know me, which I thought was a bonus, because I think if it had been one of these coaches that had been on the roundabout forever in Scotland, they would have known exactly about me and said, well, he's failed there. Probably wouldn't have allowed me to come in and train. This lad says, yeah, no problem, come in and train. We're not offering anything. I says, yeah, no problem, just want to stay fit. So went in, trained with Dunfermline up to Christmas and just past Christmas, played 2 bounce games, scored 3 goals. And then, bizarrely at the time, the number 1 striker had just got sent off, got a 3-game suspension. And they offered me a contract till the end of the season. Again, 15 years old, 16 years old, signed with Dunfermline, released, travelled round the whole planet, back again, signed for Dunfermline. Weird.
Explain to me that feeling when you finally signed a contract for Dunfermline.
It was surreal. I think it was great for my dad at the time, because I think he always hoped or dreamed that you'd eventually get there and saw it struggle. But I think he was proud of me the way that I went off and took a gamble and played in games like the English game, like Man United, like Chelsea, that type of thing. I think he was proud of me. But the fact that I come back to Scotland, and at that time Dunfermline were in the First Division, pushing for promotion from the First Division back up to the Premier League. But it was a buzz for me to get back into Scottish football. It was only a half-season contract at the time, so I knew the ball was in my court, and I didn't know what was going to happen at the end of it. But did well enough. We finished second in the league. We got promoted back to the Premier League, and they offered me 2-year contracts. So I think then that's when it really sunk in. This wee guy that's gone off on his travels, come all the way back around the planet. I'm now a Scottish Premier League footballer. And that's where it sunk in, and I thought, wow, I've done all right here. I've never made big money, as I say, but the experiences I've had and where I've travelled, like in Hong Kong, you travel all over Southeast Asia, playing different tournaments. In Greece, I've had bus window bricked in and police escorts to games and getting out of games. I've seen riots in the stands. In Australia, was like proper lovely place, the best place in the world to probably retire, I would think, with the beaches and that. So I've had all these experiences, and I've come back and still found a way to suddenly become a Scottish Premier League footballer. And it was brilliant. The experiences I had at Dunfermline and the group of players we had there were fantastic. So the 4 years I was there, 4.5 years, got promoted from the First Division, cemented our place in the Premier League, made the top 6. In Scotland, they have this top 6, bottom 6 split halfway through the season.
And then you got
then they play each other again.
Play the team again.
And then my last year at Dunfermline, we finished 3rd, got to the Scottish Cup final and qualified for Europe. So my time at Dunfermline, I would say, was very successful from my point of view. I had my ups and downs. I had good form, I had bad form. I was dropped here. I was put on a transfer list at one point. I fought my way back into it. But brilliant. Really enjoyed it.
And this time, have you got aspirations to play for the Scottish national team? Is this something that you thought about and thought, am I in contention to get a call up here?
Never ever thought that. Never thought it was good enough. I don't think I ever was good enough, to be brutally honest. I came back and signed for Dunfermline when I was 28. So you're at the twilight of your career there. Yeah. 4 years. I was then 32 at the end of my contract. So it was never going to happen. There were better players in my position playing for Scotland at that time. So I think as a young kid, you harbour ambitions that you're being good enough at that. But I was realistic enough to know that I probably wasn't good enough. I wasn't good enough to play in the Premier League in England. And I wasn't good enough to play in the national team of Scotland. I admitted that.
Do you think it was your own setbacks and the setbacks you suffered early that gave you that mentality that you wasn't good enough? Because clearly, from your achievements in football, and you played 130 times for Dunfermline Athletic, having been released as a youngster, clearly it was good enough. Do you think that rejection at the start maybe gave you that self-doubt? That's what I'm trying to get at.
I think the biggest thing for any sportsman or sports person, and which I realised early on, is I think you have to be honest with yourself and know your strengths, and even more importantly, know what your weakness is. And I think if you can accept that, you're halfway there to making a success of what you are, because you're not going to blow your own trumpet enough to know that I was never the most technically gifted player. I'll be honest with that. I was probably what you would regard as a journeyman pro, but better than a journeyman pro, because of the levels I got to play at. But I knew I was never technically gifted enough to be somebody that could go up against I don't know. You look at some of the top players that are playing now, like Dennis Bergkamp back in his days. These type of players that are technically gifted and what they do. What I was somebody that rolled the sleeves up. I was from a working class background. I was a working class type of player that would give nothing short of 100%, whether I was playing well or bad. I would communicate, I would shout, I would talk, and I think that helped me when I got the armband for Wednesday when I was made captain. I knew my limitations, so I knew that if I was shouting at a certain player, I had to speak to them specifically, because they could turn around back to me and say, by the way, you can't pass a ball with your left foot type of thing, or something like that, you know what I mean? And I was honest enough with myself, and that leads to the point where I knew there were better players than me in my position playing in the Scottish national team, and I thought I was all short. So, and that's not just self-doubt, that's just being honest with yourself, and I don't think enough young players nowadays are honest enough with themselves. I think as soon as they sign a professional contract at 17, especially in the Premier League, because as soon as they sign that at 17, 18 year old, they're in at 10, 20 grand a week, and they've never even kicked a ball for the first team, and they suddenly think they'll be able to buy a Range Rover or a Porsche or an M3 and drive about, and these boys they're probably out of football in 3 or 4 years.
Really?
They've probably blasted their money, a lot of them. Small percentage will end up doing the right thing and getting those, like the young boy Foden at Manchester City at the moment. Special talent. But there'll be players that probably at school level would have been as good as him, but have been waylaid with women, wine, drink, drugs, nightlife, partying, that type of thing.
Yeah.
So I've always been honest enough with myself, knowing that, and I think the fact that I've never earned big money, I've never been seduced by that side of it. So I've earned okay money, but I've never, again, not enough to go and, I've got a mortgage. Some footballers at 17, 18 year old will go on to play a career and never know what a mortgage is, because they've got that cash in the bank, they just buy things for cash. So got our bills like everybody else. And I think the fact that I've come up the hard way, had the knockbacks, had the times where you get released, it makes you appreciate it more, the opportunity.
Was it a tough decision for you to leave Dunfermline Athletic to go to Sheffield Wednesday? Because you've got that affiliation with the club. You've said how much it made your dad proud and stuff. Yeah. Can you talk me through that period?
It was very tough. Again, it got to that level where I didn't know. I got to the end of the contract, and out of the blue, I'd heard that Wednesday were in, and it was, I think it was just this. I was 33 years old at the time. Nobody at 33 years old gets a chance to sign for Dunfermline, to sign for Sheffield Wednesday. Nobody. And the only reason I got that opportunity is because Wednesday dropped out of the Premier League, dropped into the Championship, dropped out of the Championship, down into League One, and almost dropped into League Two the season before I joined them. So the money, as soon as they fell out of the Premier League, the money collapsed, and they were going through a real tough time financially, the football club. But that gave me the opportunity to sign for a club the size of Sheffield Wednesday, the history of Sheffield Wednesday. I mean, 20 odd years ago, they were like third in the league, finishing above Man United and Liverpool's, and challenging these type of places with legends like Chris Waddle and David Hurst and John Sheridan playing in their teams. Proper world-class players at the time. So I would never have got that opportunity to, if Wednesday hadn't had this sort of massive decline in circumstances. And I thought it was just too good an opportunity. I thought, again, it's one of these things, like I said to you before, didn't want to get to 60, look back and say, I wish I'd taken a chance of playing in England. For a club that size, I only signed a year contract. I thought I'd be down there for a year. I thought my career was coming to an end. 33, I'll be 34 when it finishes. let's see what happens. I'll go and see if I enjoy it. We came down and things were great. Joined, as I say, the club had a hard time the season before. The manager at the time was Chris Turner. He decided to release 12 players. He brought in 10 new players. So it was a whole new squad and group there. But again, go back to your original question, leaving Dunfermline was really tough because I had such a good relationship. One, the fan base. Two, the players were brilliant. Really were like a family. And the coach, we had our ups and downs, but had complete and utter respect for him and the job he had done. But I think it was probably the right time to move on and try something new. Allow Dunfermline to go on and progress and maybe bring through a younger generation. And allowed me the opportunity to go and play in English football and to join a squad with aspirations having a relatively successful season. But when you're Sheffield Wednesday in League One, you're the big fish there to be shot at, like Sunderland are at the moment, probably. Yeah. Everybody wants to play at the Stadium of Light. Everybody wants to beat Sunderland. We were like that in my League One thing. And we had a tough start to the season. Pre-season, we went to Ibiza on a pre-season trip. Ibiza? Who goes to Ibiza? I swear to God, mate. It's unbelievable. But the team building on it was amazing. We played in a 4-team tournament. There was us, there was Watford, there was Preston, and there was a team at Ibiza Waiters or something like that that played in this thing. We played Preston the first game. We won 3-1. Preston were in the Championship. We were League One, played really well. Watford beat this team of Waiters, and we played Watford in the final, and we lost to Watford on penalty. So it was a really good sort of pre-season. Every pre-season game, we were unbeaten. First game of the season comes, everybody's buzzing about it. We played Colchester at home, who had struggled the year before. We lost 3-0. It was like, oh no, the whole roof's caved in. We're like, shit, what's going on? So that certainly brought our feet planted on the ground. The next week we went away to Blackpool. We won 2-1. I scored my first goal. And then for 9-10 games, we would win one, lose one, win one, lose one. And unfortunately for Chris Turner, he lost his job after 10 games.
What, just the run of results were just too incredible?
Well, what happened was, I think he was almost in last chance saloon. The season before, I think they had survived relegation by about the last game of the season or something.
Yeah.
He took a big gamble, got rid of 12, brought in 10 new players. And it was like shit or bust type of thing. And unfortunately, because it's the results initially, which I think you're always going to get with so many new players, they were up and down. And we were lying mid-table after 10 games. And for the chairman, I think, he might have given Chris an ultimatum. First 10 games, we need to be in the top 6. I don't know. But anyway, unfortunately, Chris lost his job and he brought in Paul Struck. The rest of the season, we started picking up. We got there, got into the playoffs, won the semi-final at Brentford home and away, and then beat Hartlepool in the final at Cardiff at the Millennium Stadium in front of 70,000. I think it was 45,000 Wednesday fans there. So that day is the best day of my footballing career as a player ever. It's the most amazing thing. And to do it as captain as well, and thinking my contract's done and finished it Wednesday anyway, at the end of it, it was a great way to finish it. So 34-year-old.
Talk me through that day. Talk me through that day from the morning. What do you remember?
Okay, so we woke up on the morning of the game and there was the local media were there. BBC Radio Sheffield were all in the lobby, so players are getting interviewed. We've got breakfast. Finished breakfast. We're staying at which one is it? In Cardiff. There's two good golf ones. I can't remember which one it was. The Vale Glamorgan, it may have been. I think it was the Vale Glamorgan Hotel. Anyway, it was one of the two big hotels down there, a big golf resort type things. So yeah, it was relaxed. We'd gone for breakfast. I'd left breakfast. I was going back up to my room. I shared with a lad called Glenn Whelan, I think it was, or was it David Lucas? Glenn Whelan, I think it was. Went on the Premier League stuff. So yeah, I'm standing in the lift. I pressed the button in the lift, and doors open, and this guy, full suit, tie, and everything, comes falling out this lift, steaming drunk. And I looked at him, and he looked at me. He goes, "Boy!" Look at him, Michael Vaughan, the England cricket captain, wow. Massive Wednesday fan, steaming before the game, steaming. Come on, lads, let's get to them today. Let's have a good day, type of thing. Basically poured himself out the lift into a taxi and headed off into Cardiff city centre. So that was the morning of the game. And you're thinking, it's going to be fun today, type of thing, when the English cricket captain comes out. steaming drunk already. He's probably drunk for the night before, to be honest with you. Into the taxi and heading off. The biggest memory for me, other than lifting the cup, was the journey into Cardiff. I mean, the bus journey went in, it was like silent, nothing around. I was just thinking, what's going on here? This is weird. And the stadium's right in the city centre. And then about half a mile from there, you suddenly there was a few more bodies around. And then just as you turn into the road that takes you to the stadium, it was just blue and white everywhere. Now, so it was both sets of fans that steaming drunk, hanging out the windows, to get through that 200 metre. And there was a ripple effect. As soon as people at the far end where the bus just turned in, you could sense that the fans, there's the bus, there's the team bus, and they're all starting to clap, they're all starting to sing. You could see this ripple effect head down the street as people are realising who's the bus is coming and everything like that. And there was one guy just turned top off. It was a roasting hot day, Wednesday, hat on, spotted the bus, steaming drunk he was, full pint of lager in his hand. And he starts sprinting down the road through people and everything, chasing the bus down and everything like that. We get there and we start getting off the bus. He's standing there, he's jumping about, goes to take a bite of his lager. This lager's just as empty, glass is empty, he's just been bouncing about all over the place. Still thought he had a full pint of lager, pissed off, steaming drunk, got out. Chris Waddle was just standing there doing an interview. A few other ex-Wednesday legends just doing interviews, milling around, and just gave you that buzz, and you thought, you had that real sense of occasion that this was something special. Listen, deep down, it's a third-tier English football. And you're thinking, when you look back and you think, if I were so excited, but from my point of view, and it was almost like Wednesday had been up there, they'd gone round this full circle, got to the bottom the season before, and this was hopefully the time where we start edging our way back up again. And again, target is to get back up into the Premier League, but it's fallen short of that so far. But that was one a clear image of my just before the game and how it set the tone for the day, to be honest with you.
Do you remember what you said to the lads as a captain before you went out on the pitch?
I can't remember what I said, to be honest with you. We always did a huddle.
Would you have been a vocal captain though? You would have sort of tried to jig them up.
Yeah. What happens is, what I did say before we went out into the tunnel area, because quite often you see two teams lined up in the tunnel and they're shaking hands with their mates over and hugs and everything like that. What I said to them, I says, listen, this is a big day for us. What we need to do is try and get a psychological edge somewhere. And I says, when we go out in the tunnel, don't look at any of the players, don't shake hands, don't acknowledge them. Because they will be looking at you, trying to get a smile or a handshake or something like that. And you do that, it'll make them think they're in the zone type of thing. They're zoned in. And that'll give you an edge. They'll start thinking negative, oh my God, they're all really up for this type of thing. And never even looked at any of them, never looked at their captain until we got out or anything like that. Because normally the captain will walk up, shake hands and that, and just all of us just blank them. And I said that to the boys, I said, don't acknowledge them, get out there with the normal formal handshakes and everything, but don't acknowledge them in the tunnel type of thing. We're not here to be friends. Shake hands with them after the game, whatever happens, and deal with that. I remember that. Before the game, you do the coin toss. We always have a huddle. And I would have said a piece there, but I genuinely can't remember the words that I would have used. So, but it was it, and we dominated. As far as the game went, we dominated the first half. We should have been 2 or 3 up, but we scored about 3 or 4 minutes before half time, went 1-0 up. And I think at 1-0, you're always a bit worried how things go. But we were dominating the game. We were so confident going in at half time. Came out the second half, again, started relatively well. Hartlepool started to come into it, made a couple of substitutions, and then they went bang, bang, 2 goals in the space of like 10 minutes. And we're 2-1 down, 8 minutes to go. We're thinking, oh no, typical Wednesday, we've blown it, we've dominated the majority of the game. Hartlepool have had their spell, taken advantage of it. And we're 2-1 down with 8 minutes to go. I'm thinking, oh no. There's a lad called Stevie McLean who was our top scorer that year. He had got injured 3 months before, about 3 months before, and hadn't kicked a football since then. We brought him on, 8 minutes to go. It was like last roll of the dice. I remember turning round to my centre-half partner and saying to our 2 fullbacks, I said, forget it, you two just bomb on, we'll just go man for man against their front 2. it's shit or bust. We lose 3-1, we lose 3-1. Same as 2-1. We need to try and get something back in the game. Just bomb on. We'll take the responsibility of these two. Stevie McLean comes on, and we got a penalty. It was a soft penalty, to be honest with you. There's one angle that shows the guy pulling his shirt, and I think the referee saw that one. But from every other angle, you would have been spewing if you had got that penalty against you. So we got a break with the penalty. Yeah. First kick of the ball, Stephen McLean's on, he takes the penalty. And we were like, oh no. He's never missed a penalty for us, right enough. But it's 8 minutes to go. Pressure's on him. He's not played for 3 months. Comes on. First kick of the ball he's got a penalty kick with 8 minutes to go to try and save our season. He hit the worst penalty in the world. Goalie went the wrong way, saved it with hit his hand and went in the back of the net. So it was like that, complete relief. And I remember, goals down that end, I turned my back on it and I watched the big screen up on the screen rather than watching it. I couldn't watch it. I hit the back of the net. Their man that pulled got sent off at the same time. So we're now 2-2. They're down to 10 men. Last few minutes goes to extra time. So we're a man up. They're dead on their feet. We could sense it. We've got left. They've had a right jab in the stomach, so we'll say. And then in the extra time, we went 3-1 up. Great goal for Glenn Whelan. And then the last minute of the game, we've hoofed the ball. My centre-half partners just hoofed the ball forward, trying to clear it, get the ball away. Turns up, the ball bounces. And this is, for me, the most surreal feeling I've ever had in football. So we've got this stadium all the way around, and the way we are playing against, Hartlepool fans are behind us, but the Wednesday fans have got like 2/3 of the stadium. The ball bounces just over the halfway line, bounces up. Their last man defender decides to let it bounce, and I don't know why he does it instead of just going heading it back or kicking it straight back at our goal. Decides to let it bounce. A young lad of ours, 18 years old, Drew Talbot, the ball bounces and he sniffs a wee chance of getting there first. And just as it bounces, goes up, he just nicks the header before this other guy, and he's through 1v1 with the goalkeeper. Now, at that precise moment, in my recollection, the whole stadium was silent. And I'm watching this thing through blinkers. This kid's bearing down a goal. Now, scores this, it's over. Party time. If he scores this, it's dead, it's buried, we are up. This is the biggest celebration ever. And I'm watching this thing, and you can slowly, surely see the whole ground, Wednesday fans, and it's like it's slow motion. You can slowly see them just sort of starting to lift up out their seats as he's heading towards goal. He knocks it around the goalie. He's got an empty goal at an angle to roll in, but you could still miss it. But I'm still seeing this sort of peripheral vision of the whole stadium virtually in slow motion, getting up, as if like ready to start cheering. The ball hits the back of the net and the place goes ballistic. It's the most amazing feeling I've ever had as a player. It's unbelievable, this sort of sense of relief, knowing that's it, the game is over. They have no time to come back into this game. They took kick off, he blew the final whistle. It was just absolutely brilliant. And somebody said to me before the game, says, if you do get the result, you're 33, 34 years old, step back from the celebrations yourself, step back on your own, because if you don't, you're never going to have these memories again, unlikely. If you don't do that, you'll get caught up in it, you'll be involved in everything, but you see nothing because of the whole emotional side of it. It says, step back on your own and just take everything in. Look into the crowd, look at your teammates, look at the coaching staff and everybody around celebrating. Get those mental images in your head because you will have them forever. And if you don't do that, you'll be in amongst it, it'll be all scatterbrained and you won't remember anything. So I did that, and there was one picture where, you get the usual playoff finalists, League One champions, 2004-5, champagne, everything, celebrating, scarves, hats and everything. The team photo with the cup. I'm not in the photo because I'm standing in the background somewhere just sort of taking it in and getting those personal images that will always be ingrained in my brain. I remember doing that as soon as the opportunity came to do it. I can't remember who told me that to do that, but it was the best thing I've ever done because you've got some amazing images in your head from that sort of time.
What was the aftermath like, lifting the cup, the team afterwards, the celebrations and everything that went into?
So the lifting the cup was amazing. All the players went up first, Gaff went up first, they all got their things, and then being the one, and I'm going to hark back to it again, just some working class kid from a little town called Pennycook, whose dad worked in a factory, his mum stayed at home. He's now lifting this trophy in one of the best stadiums in Britain, having given success to 45 in the stadium and tens of thousands outside the stadium or watching on telly. Being able to lift this trophy and allow these people who have given me the opportunity to wear that badge, giving them an opportunity to celebrate. Because you follow a team like Sheffield Wednesday, there's a hell of a lot more lows than there are ups, highs. So to be part of that, even though it's only third level of football, that type of high and that type of emotional roller coaster they've been on through that 120 minutes, the game, was an amazing feeling for me. And being able to just be that person that lifts that cup and sets that off, lights the touch paper, was amazing. Now, after that, in the changing room, there's a big changing room, and then there's actually a warm-up area at the side of it. And I just went and sat in the warm-up area myself and a lad called Paul Heckenbottom, who went on to be manager of Leeds and Barnsley. Two of the more experienced one, we just sat back against the wall. I had 6 tins of beer right next to me. He had a bottle of champagne over there. But in the change room, all the young ones are spraying champagne and jumping and dancing, ghetto blasters right up, going nuts. I was physically and mentally drained. I'm just sat there with my head against the brick wall. There's an infamous photograph taken from that day. I think the club photographer, had just seen me and Paul sitting there. He just walked over with a cup, put it down next to me. I'm sitting with cans, just having a drink. And I never realised the photograph had been taken until like a week later. And it catches, in my opinion, my feelings on the day. If you Google the photo, you'll probably see it. I just sat in flip-flops, got my medal around my neck. I've got 3 or 4 tins of lager there, and a cup there. I was just mentally and physically drained. And it sort of summed up my overall feelings of the day, that was just like elated and drained at the same time.
Quite an iconic image for Sheffield Wednesday fans, that.
Yeah, it is. It's regarded as a very iconic image. It's up there with, I think, John Sheridan scored a winning goal at Wembley, I think, in the FA Cup. And it's sort of a similar type of... There's 3 or 4 iconic images of Sheffield Wednesday, and bizarrely it's been voted one of them, which is great from my point of view. And then after that, you've got to go on as captain, you've got to go and do the press stuff. And they're asking, like, what's your feelings, the usual stuff, and then it gets thrown at you. What are you going to do next season? You're out of contract. And I'm like, I completely forgot all about that. And then I'm thinking, well, yeah, I genuinely don't know. It's in the hands of the club. Let us just enjoy this, and then we'll see what happens. So we get on the bus, where there's no party in Cardiff. We want to get back to Sheffield. We're on the bus. The traffic heading out, I think it's the M4. It goes Cardiff up to the M6. Something like that. Can't remember. But it's a motorway out. It's shocker, because people going back to Hartlepool in the northeast, everybody's heading back to Sheffield. It's shocker. We're in this massive sort of traffic jam. Paul Heckenbottom runs up the top on my table. The cups in the appears from nowhere, grabs the trophy. I'm thinking, what's he doing? Runs a wee back up the middle of the bus, goes down to the toilet area, opens the side door of the bus. So we're all cars, there's traffic and everything. You're looking out the windows, and there's Wednesday fans like that against windows, like dribbling down, steaming drunk, recovering, all tired, hanging out windows, things like that. They just look drained of the day. And then Hecky goes out his bus, and then there's 4, 5, 6, 7 other lads going out the bus, and I'm relatively near the front, and the gaffer's at the front. What are they doing? He starts this flipping conga up the middle of the motorway in between traffic, because no traffic's moving. And as I say, you're seeing people like that at the window, and they're just looking at the side, and they're looking at it, and they sort of look at each other, and then they spring up and they think, that's the cup, that's Hickam, that's some of the players, what are they doing? And the lads are congoing up the middle of this motorway, and you can see it, and suddenly horns are starting to hoot. And then people are starting to get out of their cars because they're not moving anywhere. And they see this congo about 5 or 6 of the lads going up in the middle, and the fans are going nuts, and suddenly the whole motorway starts singing and jumping and bouncing about. We're thinking, oh my God, I'm looking out the front of this bus at the lads bombing up the middle of the motorway. He must have went a half a mile up the road with a trophy and then come back, and the fans would suddenly give him a second wind. It was just memories again that you're never going to get them back. You're never going to get them back now. Just class. Loved it. Greatest memory of my playing career, without doubt.
you mentioned your contract was running out.
Yeah.
You're waiting on the club, I'm guessing, to start the negotiations or to tell you where your future lies. Can you pick us up from there and tell us where the story goes?
Yeah, so we get back to Sheffield. We have a bit of a party that evening, and then we wake up the next day. Because the playoffs go on so long, I don't think there was no bus to the city or anything like that, because lads just wanted to get off on holiday. We only had 4 weeks till the new season started. Gaffer had to get on. We started thinking signings, needed to sign people that are good enough to play in the Championship. We've come out of League One. Does that include Lee Bullen? I didn't know. So anyway, I sat down with them. Again, I wasn't a big earner. We had signed people from Scotland because the club was on a financial problem in Scotland. The money had fallen out of the game, so we were cheap options. And luckily enough, the chairman come to me and Paul Sturrock decided he wanted to keep me around anyway. Whether or not I was going to play as much, I wasn't sure. I wanted to stay. I wanted to be part of it. I wanted to see it through, having been part of that big day in that season. But it took, 10 days, 2 weeks before we eventually sat down and had a chat and knew exactly where I stood. You got sort of verbal assurance that it's okay, we'll be okay, type of thing. But in football, you just never know. You don't know what other players become available in your position. So there's always a bit of a trepidation exactly where it's going to go. But luckily enough, signed another 1 year. I just signed year to year, and I ended up staying 4 years as a player. Left when I was 38-year-old, and loved every minute of it. Again, got promoted, solidified our place, pushed up the league a bit, and actually for a period of one season, not my last season, the season before my last at Wednesday, we probably finished about 4 or 5 points out of the playoffs. And we were never good enough to be in that sort of area, but we had a hell of a finish to the season that really pushed us up there. And with 4 games to go, I thought we were going to sneak into the playoffs, which on paper, we would have deserved it because we had got the results. But when you look at the squads of the other clubs in there, they were better, much better teams than us. But we had a bit of momentum. Sometimes that plays a big, big part. But yeah, at 38-year-old, Brian Laws pulled me in, who was the new manager at the time, and said, "Listen, Bully, we're going to go a younger route." Thought that. What I was hoping for, that he pulled me in and said, "We're going to go a younger route, but we'd love you to get involved in the coaching side of things." That's what I hoped for. Never materialised. Got an offer at 38 years old, a 2-year contract at Falkirk to play. So I went back to Scotland for a couple of years, finished my playing career up there, and started my coaching career up there. Brilliant.
Talk to me about the decision and the day you announced your retirement as a professional footballer. Bearing in mind, this is a job you've done pretty much the majority of your adult life. You've travelled the world and seen different sites from that experience. Yeah. Talk to me about the day you announced that retirement.
I've never officially announced my retirement, to be honest with you. That decision was made for me.
Are the boots still ready to go out, Olin? Are you ready?
To go. My legs couldn't work. My legs still did it, but my legs couldn't do it. No. Signed 2 years for Falkirk. Yeah. Manager was a lad called John Hughes. Hard man. Brute. Probably the bully at school, one of these guys. Great guy. Proper. Had a strong career. Solid centre-back. He signed me. And after 1 year, he got offered the job at Hibs. That was his club. He was a Hibs fan as a kid. He played at Hibs. So he couldn't really knock that opportunity back. So he left, went to Hibs. So my second year, the youth coach, Eddie May, came up and had a different idea. So I was 39. And he turned to me. I still had a year's contract at Falkirk as a player. He said to me, "Listen, Lee, I'm going to go with the younger ones, and I don't think you're going to play much." He says, "But I'd like you to get involved with taking the under-18s if you want to." And at the time, I was a wee bit disappointed. But I thought, yeah, okay, why not? I'm getting paid a player's salary. I'll get involved in the coaching side with the kids, and I'll continue to train with them. And I says to Eddie, "Listen, if they're for any reason you need me, let me know." He said, "Yeah, no problem." Bizarrely, after about 2 months into the season, they had major injuries. He had to call me back, and he had to play me as a striker. So I played about 6 games that season and scored a great goal against Hamilton, bizarrely enough, at 39-year-old. So, but became a bit of a cult hero because of that, because I went to the coaching side, come back, did all right for these half dozen games where they were struggling and scored a good goal. And so the fans at Falkirk...
Put your coach jacket back on. Then put your coach jacket back on.
Then I put my coach's jacket back on. And to be fair, Eddie actually lost his job halfway through that season. Stephen Presley, a lad who was playing at the time, got the job and he asked me to be his assistant. So I went from player at Falkirk to under-18s coach to back to player, back to under-18s coach to assistant coach to Stephen Presley. Stayed there 2 or 3 years. At the time we were bottom of the league and we just failed. Last game of the season we played Kilmarnock. We needed to win. They needed a point. We drew 0-0. We got relegated at the end of our season, but we were about 8 points tailed off when we almost got them up. So it was a shame. We nearly got there, but the experiences of that, being relegated, having to adjust our budgets accordingly because the money collapsed out of it. We had to go from players on, I don't know, at the time at Falkirk, maybe £2,000 a week. We had to go down to players at £300-400 a week. So we had to go very, very young. But it was a great education from an initial starting point from our first team coaching aspect. And we had some really good times there working with very, very young squad of players. And eventually the money thing sort of caught up with me. I went from a salary, I think at Falkirk I was earning just short of £100,000 a week as a player, ended up earning £18,000 a year as an assistant coach. £18,000 a year, and eventually it sort of catches up. Because as I say, I've got mortgages and everything. So we made the decision to leave Falkirk, come back down the road with my new missus. We bought our mum and dad's company. She owns an estate agent in Sheffield. We bought them out, and I got a part-time role back at Sheffield Wednesday in the academy from the academy guy there. He says, listen, come in, start part-time. He says, there's a full-time job coming up. We'll get you in there, but maybe 2 or 3 months away. So I got back in and I got the job at the under-23s coach at Wednesday after doing a little bit of part-time stuff there, doing a little bit of estate agency work. Real work has no fears for me because I've been there, I've seen it, I've done it. There's no worries at all for me to go out and work on a build site, go and work in an office, go and drive a taxi, something like that. I've never had that sort of airs or graces about me because I was brought up that way from a working class family, working full time and playing part time. I was never like that. Plus, I've never earned the money to have that nice lifestyle anyway. So it was good getting the toe back in the door at Wednesday. But Falkirk, with regards to actually when I made that decision to retire, somebody made that for me. That was Eddie May. But nothing against Eddie, I'm still good friends with Eddie. He made that decision and he needed to do that. It was his first job as a first team coach, so he had to do what was right by him. And I really appreciate his honesty in it. Sometimes you're not happy with it, but I'd rather people were honest with me than just sort of fade me out without saying a word.
Talk to me about taking a full-time role at Sheffield Wednesday, because you've had, as a player, a brilliant affiliation with the club. To then have the opportunity to return in a coaching aspect and a coaching role within the club, it must have been very satisfying for yourself to get that full-time position.
It was brilliant. As I say, under Brian Laws, when he eventually turned around and said, listen, we're going to go in a different direction, I was hoping that he'd maybe get me involved in the academy at that time. Maybe the jobs weren't available. But then I went back to Scotland, a couple of years up there, come back down. And to get the full-time role with the under-23s was great. It was a new job. It was a new thing that the FA had sort of opened up. You'd got rid of reserve football, brought in under-23 football. Wrong decision from my point of view. I think reserve football is much more beneficial to players because you've got older pros playing against youngsters. Now, the 23s, it's like cotton wool football.
Before there would have been a mix of players, I guess, in team trying to get back in the first team, young players coming through, established pros that needed fitness in the reserves. So you've had, like you said, a great mix and mesh of players.
For youngsters playing against senior pros, it was a real school of hard knocks, and you knew you were in a game. You're a young striker playing against a seasoned professional at centre back. Then I think it built you up more, made you more ready for an opportunity at first team level if you had been through that. Now they're just playing against each other, and it's all tippy-tappy type of shit. There's no real winning losing mentality type of thing. There's no worries if you win or lose. There, senior pros hated losing, whether it's a reserve game or anything. They didn't like losing. So I think it's something that English football needs to go back to be honest with you. They'll say you're taking a step back. I don't. I think it's much better for them to get that experience. Anyway, under 23 football was great. You're almost left to run your own team. the manager at the time was Dave Jones, but he never really had anything to do with the 23s. Didn't say, like, we play 4-3-3, I want you to play 4-3-3, this is how we set up at set plays, want you to mirror that. No, I was left to my own devices. So really enjoyed that, and really enjoyed working with a young group of players that were there. We've got one or two of them now that are playing in our first team, which is great. So to have played a little bit involvement in that's been great. And then slowly but surely, as first team managers move on or get sacked or whatever, lads take over. Like Dave Jones got released, a lad called Stuart Gray took over, who was one of Dave's assistants, and he asked me to help him out to the end of the season, and we did great, and I've basically stayed in the role since, just been in the right place at the right time. So I've been an assistant coach there for the last 4 or 5 years under English, Portuguese, Dutch, what have we got? Another Englishman now. So yeah, great experiences from that point of view. As a player, I played under Brazilian, I played under Chinese, I played under Greek, I played under Polish, I played under Scottish, and as an assistant coach, it's good to see how other countries did their stuff as well.
Do you think the fact you've seen so many different football cultures and different aspects of the game that's helped your journey as a coach and indeed helped you rise the ranks to become an assistant manager?
100%. A lot of stuff you see that you look at how certain coaches have done things and you think, I wouldn't do that, I would do it differently. As well as the stuff you pick up and think, oh, I think that's brilliant, you take on. But some coaches would not name their team until an hour before the game. Some coaches would name it 2 days before because they need to work on shape and everything. And there's certain things like that. You maybe do it that way, but not that way. Things like that. I mean, you've been in and around the boxing game for time. You see a lot of boxers training in the UK and then suddenly think, no, I need to change the scenery. I want to go and work in the grimy areas of New York or train in Vegas or something like that to get used to various aspects of it or whatever. I don't know. Some of them now are training in Saudi Arabia or Abu Dhabi or someplace like that because now they're attracting fights over there. I think you just have to adjust and see a different type of. Sometimes you just need a new voice. Whether that's as an individual sport, as a golfer, as a boxer, or something like that, give you new ideas, make you question yourself and what you've done before. And it's the same in football, where different countries have different ways of doing things and different ideas, different coaches. So one coach will play a long ball game, one coach will play a passing game like Guardiola. And there's no right or wrong way. As long as at the end of 90 minutes on a Saturday afternoon you got 3 points, then that's the right way to do it. So it's been great. It's been great.
Looking at football now as a standpoint, we've seen the French division have announced that their season is now effectively ended, the same as in Holland. Do you feel as an individual, like your own personal opinion, that our season in England will now, that'll be it for this now? They'll end this season effectively without the games being played, or do you feel the games will be replayed?
From a personal point of view, I'd like to finish the season. I think it's the right thing to do from a sporting integrity side of things. From a gut instinct, if it goes on any longer, I can't see the season finishing, personally. That's, I think it's going to be after a big decision be made. Now, people will say, well, we can bin off next season as well, because this is more important, and I understand that. And there's all different variant aspects which I don't want to get involved in because I'm not the spokesman for the FA or Sheffield Wednesday. There's different like promotion relegation aspects. Do you forget any relegation and just promote teams because they've deserved it? But so do you promote the 3 teams that are in their position in the championship now, or what about the 4th place team that's maybe 1 point behind and they've got 8 games? There's a lot of legal issues with regards to that. But taking away the legal issues with it, what would be the right thing to do? Would probably be knock it on the head and start again next year. From a purely human type of thing, you'd look at it from that type of view. Now, the other aspect is there's a big thing in professional sport nowadays with regards to mental health and the way people are and how they can handle things. And I think I'm going to touch on the sportsman's side of things now. I think they need that routine, they need that training, they need to be in around a group, or they need to be in around a little team, whether a boxer or a golfer, whether it's a coach and a physio. But the bigger thing for me is actually the supporters. Supporters need a mental release. And 9 times out of 10, a Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock is a mental release for 30, 40,000 people in a stadium, 60, 70,000 people in a stadium. They need that. They need to forget about the 9 to 5 during the week. They need to go and release. They need to have a pint of lager with their mates and have a bit of chat. And they need to cheer and sing for their team. They need to throw the odd obscenity at somebody now and again. They just need that. And I think supporters need that as well, and the mental health of it. It just gives people a lift. It gives you that emotional drain. It just, I don't know. So from that point of view, I think sport is such a big, big part to play. And again, whether that's behind closed door and you're sitting watching it on the television at home and shouting at the television, it still gives you that little bit of release. But I think sport in general needs that. I'm gutted the Masters wasn't on the golf. I'm gutted that the UFC's been cancelled 2 or 3 times. I'm gutted that looks like Wilder and Big Man is going to be cancelled. That, yeah, I mean, things like that. I'm a sports person. I love my sport. I want to watch the best boxing bouts, the UFC bouts, the big golf things. I enjoy my golf. But more open to me as I want to see the football. But again, that's purely selfish. I think from a health point of view, it's very, very difficult to justify starting again.
This is the thing, and how does the game socially distance itself when it's a game where players are going to come into contact with each other? That again is a really interesting question, and like for society,
they're talking about like testing players before games, testing players in the build up to it. They're talking about taking players to potentially 3 or 4 venues throughout the UK so they can isolate together in team hotels, basically come out, tested while there. Only players that are fully cleared after testing can play the games and then they're released. But it's not just that. They're talking about behind closed door games, but you've also got bus drivers, you've also got chefs that need to be there, you've also got people working in the hotels, you've also got coaches, physios, that type of thing. Infrastructure. Exactly, 100%. Now, I keep harping on boxing because I know you're very, very strongly involved in boxing. I saw a thing or read it in the newspaper the other day that they actually had a boxing thing in Nicaragua or someplace like that, and people are social distancing. Boxers are sprayed, disinfected before games. People are sitting in the stand like 2 meters apart, so it's like a quarter full. They've all got the masks on. It's not right. It's not real, is it? But I know they've got boxing, but really, do you have to go to that length just to get it back on? I don't know. It's not right, personally. And the last thing you want is football like that as well.
And then you've got the interesting question: where do individual footballers have a say whether they put their own health at risk, so to speak? Because if you're going to be quarantined from your family for a certain time, and
I think you have to ask, it's not just that, as you say. Even if they take them away for 8 weeks to self-isolate and play the end of these games, they've got to go home. And maybe one of these players, mum's got cancer. One of these players' wife is pregnant. Right. One of these players, their dad's in hospital or something like that. So it's just not. Everybody's got I don't know. There's so many I's to dot and T's to cross before they do it. I'm a football person. I want to get back playing. I want to get back in the training ground. I want to work with that group of 20 players again. I want to do it. And I'd love to do it tomorrow. But is it realistic? I don't know. But ultimately, that's going to affect my job as well. We could get released. Players are going to get released. Coaches.
I was just going to come on. We've seen a lot of coaches have been laid off. A lot of coaches have been furloughed. Is this a concern within football where people are genuinely worrying about their own futures and their own personal incomes, if you like?
Absolutely. Now, especially as it goes on longer. Now, I personally have been furloughed. I am lucky enough to have a chairman who has made up the difference. Yeah. So 90% of our sort of non-playing staff have been on furlough. And that's fine. I can understand the chairman's side of that. And we are genuinely grateful that he has committed to making up the shortfall. So, but ultimately, if football's not going to start again for 9 months, the chairman's got a decision to make. He can't just keep shelling out, even though he's a very wealthy man. Now, that's at our level. Lower down, League 1 and League 2, clubs will go bust. They will go bust. There's no way of saving it. Unless money down or something, I don't know.
Yeah, it's an interesting fact because the lower tier clubs, they are really dependent on that gate revenue.
Absolutely.
If you take away the gate revenue from these teams and these clubs, how do they survive? How do they generate an income to pay their wages and their structure to keep themselves afloat?
They cannot. And to be fair, the richest owners are with the biggest clubs, to be honest with you. Now, they've got, in general terms, to the general working man, the guys that own Accrington Stanley or Tranmere, they've got big money. But not stupid money that they can just keep paying people for nothing for 9 months. That's crazy. But they've made their money from certain businesses. Who knows what's going through their business at the moment? Their business could just be snookered as well. So
very interesting point.
They have to make a big choice with regards to where's the priorities lie. Nobody has an answer, and we're all looking towards the government to try and point us in the right direction. Someday, I mean, there was a thing out 3, 4, 5 years ago saying that the Premier League could play games without any crowds in there because they don't need the money. They get that much money through other side, whether it's sponsorship or television money. But ultimately, they're going to pull the plug. They're not going to pay them for games that aren't getting paid. They're talking about having to pay money back to Sky because season's maybe not going to be finished or games are not going to be shown or something like that. So,
football is a unique industry, as we've mentioned. It's very different from other industries. Should the clubs at the top tier of football take on some responsibility to help the clubs at the bottom? Now, in other businesses...
Yeah, especially the lower ones, especially League One and League Two. Championship, I don't know how long they could last. They could do with some of the money, definitely. And it's all relative because Championship players will get paid a hell of a lot more than League One and League Two players. But they also have owners that are maybe got a little bit more money. But ultimately, that will never last forever. The Premier League clubs have always said that they should have maybe filtered down. It's not a massive amount, maybe even an extra 5 or 10% what they get further down, and it would have solidified. But don't get me wrong, you're a League One owner and you're getting that extra money and you're going to spend that money because you want to gain success. So they wouldn't have been saving it for the last 5-6 years in case there's a pandemic. They would have been spending it and now they would have been above even probably more. I don't know. I'm trying to talk politics here and I've not got any answers, to be honest with you. It's just like we're sitting in the pub going through it and trying to throw things out there, which is really good, and I think it's great to have these conversations because suddenly one thing will come out of it and think, oh, that's quite good, that. It's interesting the way that, I mean, I read a lot on social media and I watch a lot on the television, and the amount of various different ideas and ways forward. And I follow quite a few of the chairmen on sort of social media that are in League One and League Two to get their ideas, because they're probably the ones that have the best sort of ideas to try and get through it, to be honest with you, because it's more real world.
And they're the ones that are probably more able to share their views on the subject with regards to less scrutiny, I'm guessing, and less media presence from their sort of commentary. Another thing I'm quite interested in, which if the season is sort of prolonged and then replayed, what would happen with players' contracts? So say, for instance, if player A contract was then running out and he had communications with another team in another country, would he be made to fill them 8 games obligations? Because this is very weird from a legal point of view.
Because ultimately, majority of footballers' contracts run up to the end of June. Maybe lower league will run up to the end of May. And if you are released from your contract at the end of June, your club has to guarantee you 1 more month of salary anyway into July to try and help you find another team. But that would go out the window completely. If this league doesn't start again until August, September or something like that, then there has to be made a straight decision. Either the players extend their contracts or they do not extend their contracts and all these players are free. So ultimately, I think we've got about 9 players out of contract at the end of June.
Yeah.
So
could it be that black and white though? The fact that one rule will for everybody, because it's such a complicated...
I think it has to be. It has to be one way or the other. But then you've got the actual emotional side of it for the players that are out of contract. They've been told they're not getting a new contract. Are they totally 100% focused on doing their best for that club that's told them they're out of contract?
Interesting point.
I like the point you've touched on. Are they 100% focused on avoiding injury because in the back they've got somebody else that want to sign them for the new season, so they don't want to play and get injured? It's a whole... It's a big human question to be asked to that, and you can't blame certain players for going one way or the other.
also hypothetically, if the transfer window was to open up before the season could resume, are teams effectively allowed to bring in fresh talent? So if, for instance, my club are in a dogfight, are we allowed to sign A, B, C to come and help the club?
Yeah, I mean, if you're Leeds United at the top of the Championship, you're signing fucking Messi for 3 months. Yeah, I mean, no, I'm exaggerating, but you are signing players that are going to get you over the line. You are going to do that. Whereas the other aspect of it...
Will that be allowed? It's like, where does it all stand? There's so much unclarity.
There has to be a black and white sort of thing. Again, to finish the season, if we were to lose the 9 players that are out of contract and not allowed to sign anybody, then we'd have to go with under 23s players. Again, and that brings into the whole sporting integrity side of things. Because if we were to play, just say, we still to play West Bromwich Albion. We've played Leeds. Leeds are top of the league.
Yeah.
We've drawn with Leeds and we've beat Leeds with a full squad. If we to go to West Brom with a young squad and get beat 7-0 and West Brom win the league by 1 goal, Leeds are going to tell, hang on a minute. Wednesday I've got half a team. You know, it's all the integrity. So whoever can answer that question's got a tough job to keep everybody happy. And no matter what decision's made, there's going to be legal threats and everything. So not everybody's going to be happy.
You're not going to be able to please everyone, are you? This is the fact.
Absolutely.
If you spend so much money trying to get promotion and you've thrown everything at it and you're not going to get that promotion, the windfall and loss is huge.
Yep.
In the same way, if you're teetering on the brink of relegation, would you be therefore maybe for the season being abolished? I don't know. There's so many pros and cons to it all.
I mean, there is the aspect, as I say, no relegation, so nobody goes down, but the top 3 in the Championship go up. So the Premier League have 3 extra teams next year. Yeah. They play extra games, but 6 come down the following season. And then we'd lose 3, and then we'd get 3 from the league. So we'd be the same. And then League One would get 3 out. It would actually, on paper, they say, would that make it easier for clubs like Sheffield Wednesday? Because we're losing the 3 best teams out. No Premier League teams coming down with parachute money. But we've got 3 teams coming up for the League One. So it makes the league easier, does it, on paper, for us? Possibly. So I don't know.
Every action, though, could possibly change the future plan and route of a club. We look, for instance, when the Premier League changed it to 4 clubs would be relegated, Queen's Park Rangers went down, took them probably, I think that was probably like 96 or something. Maybe 95. It took them about 4 or 5 seasons to recover just from that rule, that extra team going down. It's long-term sort of repercussions.
The other side of it as well is if England's one of the only countries that decides to finish their leagues, so say we finish our Premier League in November, play the last 9-10 games of the season, but France have called off their league. I think has Spain done it or Germany done it? I can't remember. Maybe Italy, I think. What happens if Italy and France start as normal in September when the league started? So they're starting their new season. England have not even finished their Premier League yet. They're still there. But Champions League, Europeans, I don't know how you figure that out. I just genuinely don't know how you figure that out in any way whatsoever. Unless UEFA turn around and say, right, England are going to finish in November, all European leagues are going to start in January the 1st or something like that. I don't know. I don't know.
There's so many questions, isn't there? It's so interesting to see what the decisions are going to be because they've got huge ramifications for all the clubs across the country, not just the top tier clubs all the way down.
All the way down, mate. You're right. So it's really, really interesting to see what's going to happen. So I don't know.
With the TV money being so high in our country as well, the revenue that the clubs at the top in the Premier League receive, do you feel that puts more of a burden for the games maybe to be completed where other leagues are not that stringent?
Because there's so much money invested in Sky, I've invested so much money. Sky want the games on, so there's a hell of a lot of pressure on Parliament for that to do because there's such a big thing. Also from the Premier League point of view, there'll be something in the contract, I'm guessing, just from what I've read, that if for whatever reason games aren't played, then you must give us X amount back. And now we're not talking tens of thousands here, we're talking 2 billion.
Yeah.
I mean, the last contract was worth about 6 billion. Don't quote me on that, around about that. So if a season's not finished, they might have to pay 1.5 billion of that back. Now, that's not to be sneezed at for any football club, even the big hitters. So,
how do you think this whole period of lockdown will affect the academy talents, the players that are from in their development period from the age of, I don't know, from 12 to 15 or 10 to 15, 10 to 16. I know it's going to be individuals, and a lot of individuals will be training and stuff, but not, like we said, not having that structured environment, not having the facilities and the input from the coaches. Do you think that we could see a bad lapse in the future of talent from this?
Ultimately, youngsters at 9, 10, 11-year-olds have got a hell of a long way to go to be professional footballers. So it's not going to affect them so much, not necessarily being in I personally think that academies take kids way too young anyway. I think they should be left to play with their mates in schools and boys' clubs until they're 11, 12-year-old. I've just read one whilst off. Bayern Munich have cancelled all their academies up to under 11. You don't take, like Man City have got some 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds. And I'm guessing Bayern were like that, but they said, no chance. Not doing it. We'll start at under 11. I want all the kids to stay with their mates, play local football, play school football up to 11-year-old. And I still think that it's too early to bring kids into academies at 5, 6, 7-year-old. They need to just enjoy it. Because I think by the time some of them are 9, 10, 11-year-old, they fall out of love with the game because it's too structured. And it's not so much about fun. It's all about shape and play. Just go and play football. Just enjoy, just play with a smile.
Do you think as well they can be overcoached where they're doing everything textbook? They haven't got that freedom to express the way they play, and they're just literally playing the game as if they're being coached while being played.
I think slowly but surely, I think a lot of the academies are realising that has been the case over thing, and they've overcoached them. And now I think hopefully they're especially younger age groups, getting more of a mentality of play with a smile on your face and just go and enjoy your football type of thing. Encourage more skills, encourage more individual type of quality and things like that. And then leave the more tactical and technical kind of stuff to later on. Just play with your natural ability initially. That's the reason you got brought in the first place. Go and show it, and without the stress of having to play by numbers, so to speak. But further up, it could actually create more opportunities for under 18s, under 19s, under 20s, because 100% championship down, nobody will be paying a transfer fee for the next couple of years, in my opinion. Unless it's clubs coming down for the Premier League. I can't see that. There'll be free signings, and that will impact salaries in the championship. Because you've got some boys in the championship. There's one lad at Fulham on over 60, 70 grand a week. Now, that's unsustainable, but they have 2 or 3 years of parachute payments because they've just come down for the Premier League. I think, just from a championship point of view, I think salaries will drop big time. Players will have to become more realistic because clubs are going to take 2 or 3 years to recover from this. So they're not going to pay big salaries, and they're not going to pay any transfer fees. And they're going to have to just deal with that and understand that situation. Players and agents especially.
Agents in the game, how have you found your dealings from a coaching point of view and from a management point of view with agents in the game as the kind of ruling standard?
They're another one. I think with bankers, with estate agents, with politicians, they're up there with the most ridiculed people in the land. But majority of them are good. Majority of them are good people. As with everything, it's the minority that do the wrong things that tarnish most of them. And it's not right. Do I think they take too much money? Some of them at the top level probably get too much money out of it. But a lot of them do a good job for their clients. I've never really used it. I've used an agent once in my career. I've never really used an agent at all. But I know a lot of them. And a lot of them are good people. And a majority of them do right by or try to do right by their clients. Absolutely.
Did you feel agents have too much power in the game as it currently stands?
At top level, 100%. 100%. And I think, I don't know, again, it's all paper talk and I don't know the ins and outs of it, but the guy that's looking after Paul Pogba seems to be the catalyst behind it all. He seems to be quite a tough cookie to deal with, and whether you think it's right or wrong, I think it seems strange that they have such an influence on a player. A player needs to grow up here and make his own decisions and not be led by that. That's my personal opinion on it.
One thing that was a changing landscape with English football in particular was the Brexit situation. Seems to, with this pandemic, and rightly so, we haven't had much news covering on how Brexit will affect football going forward. But speaking from your own career, like the time you got a visa for Hong Kong or the visa for Australia, I think we're right in thinking that a lot of players come into this country will need work permits, visas and that alike. Double barrel question here, how will that affect our game And you see that as a plus side for homegrown talents developing in the future in our country.
Yeah, I mean, they're talking about having a homegrown quota within the squad and raising it. They still have that. I think at the moment it has to be 5 homegrown players. Well, I'm talking championship level. I think it's 5 homegrown players. Now,
out of 25 players.
Sorry?
Would that be 5 out of 25 players?
Well, that's a Premier League. You have to name a 25-man squad. In the Championship, it doesn't matter. You've got the squad. You just need on the team sheet, on a match day team sheet, and the 18 players, 5 of them have to be homegrown on that team sheet. There can be 5 on the bench. It can be, but also homegrown is somebody that could have come in from France when they were 19 years old and then been with us for the last 3 or 4 years. I think you have to be in the country for 3-4 years. Then you become regarded as homegrown.
Different clarifications of homegrown. So trained at the club, trained in the nation.
Yeah,
each one will take a quote box, I'm guessing.
Yeah, you do. And there's small financial bonuses for academy grown players as well, which is slightly different from homegrown players. So that's something that's come up depending on how many years they've been in your academy and made your first team. The FA pay bonuses to you because they want to encourage it. But again, I think the quota for homegrown players is 5, and they were talking about increasing that to maybe 10. So it's trying to encourage more. Again, at the top level, the best players will still come to England because the visas will get sorted and things. It's the smaller nations because there's certain nations. There's also this point system with regards to certain players from certain nations could get a visa where other ones can't. You're trying to say a player
for ranking nation, for instance, you would harder to get the player in, and
they have to have played. I think like 75% of their nation's national team games or something like that in the last 2 or 3 years or something like that. There's all different sort of conundrums to try and get that there. With Brexit, it will come. Obviously, work visas become more prevalent. As it stands at the moment, European players can come and go as much as they want. It's not an issue. So
I guess it's good and bad. Yeah, I guess it's good and bad because we may miss the likes of Faustino Asprilla or the future version of that type of player getting a start in the Premier League because hard to get him in the country. On the plus side, we may have a stronger homegrown core development theoretically with players getting more chances. So,
no, 100%. Hopefully it is the homegrown players that get the better chances. But again, the big names will still be here. It's the sort of little unknown ones that have come in that you look at and you think, why is it St. Tim? We've got a better one in the Championship. But ultimately, a Championship player is probably earning twice the amount that this lad that's come from League 2 in France is probably earning certain things like that. So that type of player will probably not be able to get a work visa further down unless there's special circumstances or something, or clubs can fight a case or something like that. I'm not sure, but it will slowly but surely affect it, but not initially because the big hitters will still come to the top teams.
The standard of football from the Premier League, the Championship, League 1, League 2, League 3 is so high. Players now are applying their trade in the Championship. 5 years ago, were probably good enough to play in the Premier League. Do you think we'll see a lot of these players moving up the divisions, as you mentioned, with the lack of big transfer fees potentially, the lack of movement from foreign players? Do you feel like we could see a lot of these players in the lower leagues who are applying their trade getting chances in the sort of top tier clubs or middle tier clubs?
That'd be the ideal effect. That's what you want, really. If we can stop the sort of, I don't know, smaller sort of names getting the opportunities in the Premier League, then obviously they'll have to find them elsewhere and they'll start looking at the Championship. But I think there has to be a financial adjustment all round, and I think maybe this virus might do that with regards to, one, the salaries in the Championship, and two, the transfer fees in the Championship. So you hope it does filter down. You hope that players in the Championship get that opportunity to go to the Premier League more and more, which in turn you hope the League Ones get that opportunity to come to the Championship. You hope that League 2 gets to jump to the players get to jump to League 1, and you hope it filters down and helps that conveyor belt transfer up, because that's all you want to see, really. Because as it stands at the moment, a lot of transfer money is going out of the country to buy players from League 2 in France, Germany, Spain, wherever, instead of keeping the big money or good money in England by buying players for the Championship players, buying from League 1 instead of buying from third division in Germany or something like that. So you want the money to stay in England if possible and help. Too much of the money is going out in English football as it stands at the moment.
I want to touch on player development a little bit. Do you feel it's better? I know each player is an individual and circumstances will be different for each player, but do you feel it's better for a young player to go out on loan and gain first team experience rather than playing under 23 football and effectively maybe not progressing as quick? What do you think is a better option for a young player?
Go on loan. 100%. It's the only way forward. I've already touched on that. I think under 23 football is continental football. I think it's fake football. A lot of talented lads, but what you don't get under 23 football is the threat of winning and losing games, which in turn is a threat of a manager losing his job or a coach losing his job or players getting released or something like that. What you don't get in under 23 football is if you go on loan at Macclesfield and you're playing against Southend, there's 3,000 people there. You can hear every word that's coming, by the way. And so what you don't have is 3,000 people singing your name when you score a goal and the adulation and that feeling and inside that buzz you get and that. But what you also don't get is 3,000 people effing and blinding you and calling you this, that and t'other, which 23 football you don't get. It's not real football. When you're out there and you hear somebody calling you this, calling you that, saying your family's this or your boots are this or you colour your hair's this or whatever, you know, the caveman mentality of a football crowd. It doesn't open you up to that. So when you do get your opportunity at first team football and you're playing at Hillsborough against Leeds United and you've got 5,000 Leeds United fans calling you this, that and another, and you're thinking, hang on a minute, what's all this about? I don't understand this, or this is, I don't like this. It's ridiculous. We've got a young lad out on loan, probably not going to be good enough in the end for Wednesday, but he's on loan at Macclesfield. And because of his experience this year at Macclesfield, he's got to earn a career out in the game. Because he's got that CV, he's got a CV built up now. Quite often, a lot of our 23s will get released because we just don't see it. There's only a small percentage that get professional contracts in the end, and they've never experienced first team football. So they then come to their agent and say, right, okay, I want to left Sheffield Wednesday. Can you get me a club in League One? And League One will go, right, okay, who's this Joe Bloggs guy? Oh, he's been at Sheffield. Oh, that's all right. Right, where's he been? Well, he's played 100 games at under 23 football, and they're like, hang on a minute. And then they'll look at somebody that's played 40 games at Macclesfield in League Two and think, oh, by the way, he's had a bit of experience there. He's got that. Yeah. Honestly, it's the best thing they can do. But the hardest thing at the moment, everybody, a lot of fans say, oh, by the way, he should be out on loan at another club. But clubs need to want to take him. They need to want the opportunity. You need to have a coach that's willing to give youngsters a chance. You need to have players at the bottom of the league that are struggling in January will very rarely take a chance on a kid. They'll want experience to try and haul them away for that just to survive and get through that season, and then maybe the next season they might take a chance on a youngster. So trying to sell the loan experience to certain clubs for youngsters is very, very difficult because it's such a cutthroat thing nowadays. There's no 5-year plan in football now. Like 3 games you're under pressure if you lose 3 games in a row as a coach. So yeah, it's the ideal scenario is to get all your young boys out on loan, get that experience of playing in League One and League Two, or if they're in the Premier League, playing in the Championship or League One. Let them go. Some of the best players in the world have done it. Beckham was at Preston as a kid. Harry Kane was out on loan, lower leagues. They need to experience that.
Should a young player be frightened to drop down a division or a level to get game time, rather than, like we said, staying somewhere where you may or may not get an opportunity? But should a young player embrace the chance to drop down a level to maybe work hard and come back up?
Yeah, 100%. And I think this is another one where I sort of, my career, I sort of lean on it. I hate saying, well, I did this and I did that, but I've been through so many experiences, having to almost give the game up or drop back down to a part-time level and then slowly but surely come back up. Don't get me wrong, being in the right place at the right time is good, but I also took a lot of hard work and effort and doing well in games when people were there. So I try and sort of say that to them. I says, don't diss the opportunity of playing at a lower level if you feel that the opportunities at this club are not going to be there. If we've got a young central midfielder that relatively talented, but you've got Barry Bannon playing in the middle of the park for us that runs the show against most championship teams, he's going to look at that and think, by the way, I'm going to struggle to get in this team until Barry's maybe 30, 33-year-old. So what do? Do I hang about here and hope that I'm going to get the opportunity, or do I go to a League One club like, I don't know, Peterborough or something like that and get this, if Peterborough come in for me and get the opportunity? You don't knock about those opportunities, and it's the best thing. Honestly, it'll be the best thing they can do. Really will be, in my opinion. But they've got to be honest with themselves and understand their strengths and their own weaknesses and be honest. Love it.
I've really enjoyed your company. Thank you very much. Hope you and your family stay safe.
You too, Paul.
And, I'll talk to you again real soon.
Stay in touch, bud. All the best.
You too. Take care, mate.
Bye-bye.